More details have come out over a drone attack in Jordan that left 3 U.S. troops dead. Officials now say U.S. forces may have mistaken an enemy drone for an American one and let it come unchallenged into the base, leaving dozens more wounded. Joe Biden now facing a difficult balancing act, blaming Iran for the deaths and looking to strike back in a forceful way without causing any further escalation of the conflict in Gaza. For more on this, let's bring in our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, first of all, who are the militia groups who attacked the U.S. troops, and what do they want?
Well, there are many in the region over Syria, in Iraq, and of course in Iran and in Yemen, and without even talking about Hamas in Gaza. What they basically want is the US to remove their forces from within Iraq, and they also want to call for the destruction of Israel. And they have been causing a lot of trouble for US forces in Iraq. Reminder, there are about 2,500 US soldiers based there, basically to stop the running of weapons supplies, illegal weapons supplies, and to act as an ally to the Iraqi forces. They are not seen with too much of a fond eye by the Iraqi leadership, especially over some of the attacks that the US have undertaken against what they say is proxy Iranian targets within Iraq. But this has made this into a much more serious situation, the death of these 3 US servicemen. One of the groups that's being looked at as being possibly behind all of this is called the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. It was created in 2020. It's an umbrella group bringing together several different militant groups inside, but notably Hezbollah. And there is a worry now that this could lead to further attacks in the region. There have been a series of attacks against US forces, especially since the invasion of Gaza back in October by Israeli forces. And there is a feeling also that this is going to have a knock-on effect in the region. That is why President Biden is in such a difficult position as to what exactly he needs to do now to fight back against this attack.
So what are Biden's options at this point?
Well, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said just yesterday that the Middle East is facing a crisis probably as great as the one that it faced in 1973. There has been no greater crisis facing the region since then. So there are several things that President Biden can do, but none of them are very easy to be able to carry out. The first one is to launch attacks against the militia groups themselves. The second one is to try to organize some kind of cyber attacks to disrupt their communication between the different groups in the area. And the third one is to launch an attack against Iran itself, which many of the far right in the US Republicans are calling for, saying this has gone far enough. We need to give Iran a bloody nose, because if we don't, this is going to carry on afterwards and it will get much worse. I don't think that, as far as President Biden is concerned, actually striking Iraq is one of the options that he has at the moment on his agenda. But the problem for the president, the US president, is that if he doesn't go hard enough, he's going to be seen as being weak. If he goes too hard, he could push this into a much wider conflict in the Middle East. And he has to keep an eye on the fact that his popularity ratings aren't very high in the US right now. Just a poll released this week by Quinnipiac has found that only 16% of Americans think Joe Biden is doing a good job as far as foreign policy is concerned, notably over the US role in trying to solve the problem in the Gaza Strip. So there is a feeling that the US president is going to have to react. He's going to have to react pretty soon. This might be a long, drawn-out series of attacks against Iranian interests in the region. For the moment, we still don't know exactly what President Biden is going to be doing, but it's certainly a question of trying to weigh up the difference between a deterrent on one side and retaliation on the other. I think we'll know more about what President Biden is going to do within the next day or so.